Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeremy Wilson. I'm the director here at the Hair Center. And while we're getting settled, we thought you'd enjoy a short video about the Salamander Crossing Brigades. And so if Karen Rent, if you could cue that up.
We're here at what we call the Salamander Crossing Brigade, and that is an opportunity for humans to assist amphibians as they move towards their breeding wetlands in the spring. So that's a little spring peeper. That's what's making that big racket over there. Oh my gosh. The littlest frog. So you can pick it up and you just sort of like, kind of like claw like that, grab it. There you go, you got it. Ooh, that's okay. Or you can, sometimes you just sort of like shoo them and they do it on their own. There we go. I'm out here because I love amphibians. There's really nothing like holding a frog or a salamander. But I'm really here for work too. I work at the Hair Center as an ecologist with Brett Thielen. We help to be the sort of linchpins in sort of coordinating volunteer effort throughout the Monadnock region. But you're gonna have to cup it in your hands. Give me like a cup shape, like this.
Sometimes
right?
two is easy.
Yeah. I literally did. All right, you ready? Cup it. Cup it. There you go. Okay. Yeah, you got it. See?
So my name is Brett Thielen. I am the science director at the Hair Center, and I have been coordinating the Salamander Crossing Brigades for 16 seasons. They've pretty much mostly all been females. You can see the eggs right there.
Oh, really?
Well, you can't see the eggs, but you can see the shape of them inside her body. So that's why she's so wide around the middle. Well, we have a few goals for this project. One of the goals is simply to reduce road mortality, to reduce roadkill by moving these animals across the road faster than they can move themselves. That benefits each individual amphibian because they're not getting hit by a car. But we also collect data, how many amphibians we move, how many live we find, how many dead we find, what species they are. And that's really important because that's information that we can use for longer term solutions to the roadkill issue. But none of those projects are possible unless you have information about how many amphibians are crossing roads at particular sites and what species are involved, because it probably doesn't make sense to put a tunnel in if you have 10 frogs crossing a road on any given night. But if you have 1,000 frogs, that's a different story. And so that's why we collect the data, so that we can help inform some of these longer term conservation solutions to roadkill.
When it gets going really good and you pick one up and you turn around and there's like 3 more down the road and you can just like watch them hop across, there's so many, it's just really cool.
They're just really important parts of our local ecosystems. And of course, you know, also every being has intrinsic value in and of itself, so there's that too, but they're more than that. They do play an important ecological role in the food web. The question I get asked most often every year is, when will the salamanders migrate? When will this happen? And I wish that I could give a date and say April 26th, but it's more complicated than that because it's all weather dependent. So we're looking for warm, rainy nights in the spring after the ground has thawed. And here in the Monadnock region, that can happen anytime from mid-March through early May.
Thank you for all your help.
You can either join us for a live training via Zoom or in person at the beginning of the season, or if you missed that training, you can watch a recording or view those slideshows on our website and then sign yourself up for our email list, and then you'll just start getting emails from me when migrations seem likely. It is so awesome to see people experience their very first spotted salamander, because it's a really moving and joyful experience for many people. It's transformative for some of them, and it never gets old to see kind of the look of awe and surprise and joy on someone's face when they see a spotted salamander, because they're always bigger than people imagine, they're always brighter than people imagine. It's this kind of like amazing experience when people see a spotted salamander for the first time. So I always love that moment.
We're sad it's over. Thanks for coming out, fellas. Super appreciate it. Safe travels home.
So that film was made last spring by Serena Monroe. She's a Keene State College undergraduate and a Crossing Brigade volunteer. I want to thank everyone who's come in person tonight and all of you who are with us remotely. It's just remarkable, and we're always so grateful about the incredible community that the Harris Center has around it that supports and sustains all that we do here at the Harris Center. Well, at the Harris Center, we're great at in-person meetings, and we're pretty good, mostly because of necessity, at remote meetings. But tonight we're trying to do both. So I'm so pleased to welcome Michael George to the podium. Michael is a Harris Center board member and the newly elected chair of the Harris Center board.
And I just don't look any better on the screen, I tell you. I'll try to keep my full face in view. I want to thank you all for being here, both live and remote. I want to thank you for volunteering, for your financial support, the work of educating the young people in our community, the work of land conservation and keeping this area beautiful is all because of the work that you all do as supporters. So on behalf of the board and on behalf of the staff, I just want to thank all of you, all of the people who are with us tonight. Thank you very much. Give yourselves a hand. I'm going to keep my part very brief. We're going to take care of business right now. So on with the business of introducing the slate of officers for the new year. Okay, so Miles, I'm not on the screen, but slate of officers. Myself as chair, obviously Tim Riley is vice chair. Tim's here. Tim, can you stand up and be recognized? Tim Riley. And so Tim is the vice chair of the board. Lois Haskins, who's an existing board member, is the treasurer of the board going forward. And Daniel Henderson, secretary of the board. Is Daniel here? No, he's not. And of course, myself. So those are the slate of officers for the new fiscal year. Next, I'm really happy to introduce 3 new board members. I think everyone's here. Sandy, are you here? Hello, Sandy. How are you? So if you would please come forward when I introduce you, and I'll say a few brief words about you. I haven't ever met Sandy in person, so pleasure to meet you. Sandy is a former CPA who's worked both in public and corporate accounting and has had her own accounting practice and has served as controller for several local companies. She volunteers for the Monadnock Area Transitional Shelter, the Max T Makerspace, and is a founding member of the Peterborough Welcome Team. In addition to joining the Harris Center board, she'll be joining the board of Friends of Peterborough Town Library at their annual meeting next week. So you've got your hands full, Sandy. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. The next new board member, Brian Hutchings. Brian, if you could come forward. They wrote their own short bios, by the way. Okay. So Brian and his wife, Chris, are residents of Hancock, along with their 2 young children who are attending the Dublin School and the Wells School. They moved to the area in 2020 and were drawn to the Monadnock region's natural beauty and rural setting. Brian loves being active outside in the mountains and forests, running, skiing, etc. Professionally, he is a partner with the venture capital law firm Gunderson Detmer, where he helps venture capital funds and technology companies. He's an alumni of James Madison University and Villanova Law School. So Brian, thank you for joining the board as well. And the 3rd new board member, Tara Kessler. Tara, thanks so much for coming forward. I haven't met Tara until tonight either. Tara lives in Hancock with her partner Chris and son Wyeth. For the past 14 years, she's worked in the Monadnock region as a land use and community planner. She loves to hike, run, backcountry ski, and explore new trails and places. She's grateful to live in a place of such abundant beauty and an engaged community, and where there are so many opportunities for outdoor education. So Tara, welcome as well. And moving on. I also want to thank all of the returning board members, some of who are here tonight, some who aren't. So Beth Corwin, Katri Jackson, Carrie Kalich, Stephen Lamond, Ethan Harper Lantricchia, and Denise Zimmer. Thank you to the ongoing board members. Please stand to be recognized if you are here. So Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. Now, this is the hard part of my little bit. There are 4 outgoing board members, and I'll announce them individually and ask them to come forward. The outgoing board chair, Karen Bennett. Karen, if you would come forward, please. I was trying to think of different adjectives to describe people, and so just a few. Karen, up until the last meeting, we were completely remote through Karen's term as the board chair, and she did a remarkable job of making the board feel like we were together, even though we were on Zoom for all of those meetings. She has an incredible warmth. She's very respectful, thoughtful, and she runs meetings on time. So I'm really going to aspire to do the same, and I thank you so much for your service to the board. Thank you, Karen. You want to say a few words?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Just one thing. This is a wonderful conservation community to be a part of, and I feel very lucky to have been part of it. So thank you all.
And leaving us as vice chair is Jim Hassinger. Jim, if you could come forward. Jim is the first person that I met before I joined the board, and he interviewed and grilled me, and he's been incredibly proactive and deeply engaged in the board in the time that I've been here. And you've been a board member for 7 years?
6+.
6+ years. He's been honestly a mentor to me, and anytime I've had a question or issue, I've gone to Jim, and he's been incredibly helpful and thoughtful in his work on behalf of the Harris Center. So Jim, I appreciate it. I hate to see you go.
All right, thanks. Yeah.
Sandy Green, many of you know Sandy. He can't be here tonight. What can I say about Sandy? I know he's a wise counselor to Jeremy and incredibly astute financial background, and he's been a great asset to the board. Fortunately, we get to keep him as a community member of the financial committee. Is that right? On the board. So Sandy, thank you so much for your service. We'll get you a hat when you. And finally, Dan Langille, the outgoing secretary. I've run into Dan just a few times in Peterborough, at Greengrocer, places like that. And Dan's a pretty quiet guy, but he's a master scribe as secretary. He does an unbelievable job. He's and in meetings, he's always a person of incredibly well-chosen words. So he doesn't always say a lot, but he always says the right thing and is always an incredible contributor. So we're going to miss you so much, Dan. Thanks so much. Thank you. And my last bit of business is to recognize Jeremy for his 10 years of service. And I'm stealing directly. This is a cut and paste from Karen's words earlier. Jeremy, I want to, which by the way, they're the best words that anybody could speak. So I want to thank you for your leadership, to the Harris Center for the past 10 years. During your tenure, our budget nearly doubled, our program offerings zoomed. You've supported and grown a wonderful staff, and you've been a steady hand as we pivoted through COVID. Both the board and staff recognized Jeremy separately earlier, and we'd like you all to join us in applauding Jeremy's 10-year milestone at the Harris Center. On with the new year.
Oh, great. Thank you. It's these 10 years have gone extraordinarily quickly. So I feel like it's been 5 years. I fear I've aged about 20 in the same 10-year period. So time is doing weird things. Well, that's great. We have one more staff person to give an award to tonight. I think many of you probably know Sarah Lefebvre. Sarah has literally kept the Harris Center in check, or in checks as it might be. Sarah has been our finance administrator for the last 15 years, and she is the most conscientious and extraordinarily diligent person I can imagine in that role. Miles Stahman, who many of you know, has taken over that sort of bookkeeping role for the organization, but we still miss Sarah terribly. Even though we like Miles, we miss Sarah terribly. And we really just hope for the best in her well-deserved retirement. So if you can come up, Sarah. So I guess we've got the slide projector. I would just, there's a couple more staff announcements that I wanted to make. We have a couple new staff members at the Harris Center that joined this year. Phil Brown, who's our conservation director, our bird conservation director. He's worked with us for many years doing different kinds of raptor programs, but he really came on full time in January, and it's been a great ride so far with Phil on board. Another new staff member is Carol Reynolds. She's doing the teacher naturalist faculty, and she's working in Temple and Francistown, Peterborough Elementary School, and in Antrim, and at Condell High School this year. So she's got a lot on her plate in her first year of working with us. So it's great to have these two new staff members this year. Okay. So I would like to introduce Susie Spickle, who is going to present our Teacher of the Year Award for 2022.
Oh my goodness, this is problematic. I don't want my chin just to be seen on Zoom. Okay. Wow, this is so exciting. First of all, thank you for everybody who's here tonight, both in person and on Zoom. I have such an honor tonight to recognize the Harris Center's 2022 Educator of the Year. I don't even know where to start when it comes to telling you all the reasons Jen Sutton, a third grade teacher at Conval's Pierce School in Bennington, deserves this honor. There are so many reasons, not including the fact that she was my own daughter's favorite second grade teacher way back in 2008, or that Jen also worked for the Harris Center for many years as one of our teacher naturalists and our camp director. I want to share something that one of her students just told me. Miss Sutton believes in me. She makes me feel like I'm here. This sums up Jen, not just in the classroom, but in the world. She is present and fully engaged with each of her students and every member of the Pierce School staff. She listens, responds, and sincerely cares about her community. She is patient and caring, and her classroom culture is one of respect, curiosity, and playfulness. Working with her reminds me each time of how I want to be more like Jen, not just in the classroom, but in the world. Creating a positive classroom culture, resonating with respect and kindness opens the doors to learning about nature through the same lens. Her students not only learn science outside, but they learn how to be citizens of the natural world. From watching, feeding, and recording all of the birds that come through their schoolyard to caring for hatchling turtles through the Harris Center's Head Starting Turtle Program, Gen students aren't just learning science, they are learning how to care for the wild world around them. This is the exact lesson that our world needs right now in more of our schools and in all of our communities. Jen is committed to outdoor education. She recognizes that spending time outside, engaged with the natural world through observation and hands-on learning is a win-win, not just for her students, but the Pierce School staff and community. Working with other outstanding educators at her school, including fourth grade teacher Val Germain and Beth Gibney, the school's principal, as well as the Bennington Conservation Commission, Pierce School students of all ages can often be found outside exploring and spending the day in the local town conservation land, the Bruce Eads Forest, only a short walk away from the school. Jen and a Pierce School staff intentionally design these forest days to help the kids in Bennington develop a deep connection to place, a reverence of place. And also, it's a celebration of how spending time outside can make our spirits soar and our hearts open. Kudos to Jen and all the staff at Pierce for putting value on these experiences and taking action to make these things happen for their students. Jeremy Wilson once described Jen Sutton as the Energizer Bunny. It is an apt description. Jen goes and goes and goes. She is tireless. She is dedicated, and she has an embracing heart and an incredible ability to connect deeply with each and every one of her students. She is determined to do what she knows her students need to be the best humans possible. She brings them outside. They watch birds, they raise turtles, they go exploring in the local forest. They find joy and playfulness in being outside, and they learn most of all how to be respectful, caring community members, not just to each other, but to this planet. I'm delighted tonight to present Jen Sutton with the 2022 Harris Center Educator of the Year Award. She is an inspiration, not just to her students and the Bennington community, but to all of us here tonight who are hoping for a better world. It's teachers like Jen Sutton that make that hope possible. Congratulations, Jen.
Sure, I get the chin right. I'm shorter. Ooh, hi, everybody. I didn't expect to get emotional. What you don't know is that when I taught Lily, it was a crazy afternoon. I was trying to get all the kids at HES in their bus lines and they didn't know where they were going. And Susie came in and said, hey, what do you do in the summer? And I said, well, I teach in Keene at the time, and I taught a summer program. And she said, want to come work for the camp and be a camp counselor? And I didn't even know, even until many years later, how important that question was going to be, because I ended up being a camp counselor, then the director here of the camps, and then I even left the Conval district to teach for the Harris Center full-time for 4 years. So I'm grateful for that question, because it's spidered and splintered out into so many different, I guess, aspects of children's lives that I teach, and families who come on salamander brigades with me because Brett taught me about them, or go on hawk watches now on top of PAC, from all the people who have taught me about birds and Phil, and you know, to singing camp songs in the classroom. So I want to thank everybody for that, and just that question made a huge difference in my family putting up with me going out in the rain to cross these amphibians, and a school district that truly supports outdoor education, and everything that I've wanted to do, they've allowed me to do, whether it was leave and come back, or do what feeds my soul. And I know, so now we literally live next door to the Harris Center. So this is my backyard, and I definitely vow to keep teaching my daughter and all of the kids and their families about what a wonderful place we live in, and to conserve that. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Spear. I'm the school programs
manager here at the Harris Center. And I am not here for school programs tonight. I am actually here to introduce the recipients of our Volunteers Extraordinaire Award. But before I do that, I just wanted to thank all the generous people who have volunteered at the Harris Center for this past year. We have a lot of volunteers that make everything run smoothly. From stuffing mailings and helping out in the office, maintaining our trails, participating in community science projects, helping out in our camp programs, volunteering to be an extra set of hands in our school and after school programs, participating on our board and on various committees, and many more ways, volunteers help out in just about every aspect of the Harris Center. Sometimes the task at hand is completed in an hour or in a morning. Sometimes the job is ongoing, like trail maintenance. Whatever the case may be, we are deeply appreciative of all of you who volunteer your time and your talents to help us fulfill our mission. We truly couldn't do it without you. So a quick round of applause for all of our volunteers. This year, we are honoring as our volunteers extraordinaire, a husband and wife team who have helped out at the Harris Center in several ways. Harriet and Stephen DeChico have been very active in their volunteer efforts for the Harris Center this past year. Not only have they assisted in our school programs by volunteering their time with students in a variety of programs, but the most recent one I remember was aquatic macroinvertebrates. It's fun to work with them. They also helped in an after-school program as well. In addition, they approached the Harris Center last year with a creative fundraising initiative. Harriet and Stephen were inspired by Bob Goodby's book, which was published in part by the Harris Center and another part by the Historical Society of Cheshire County. And they felt it was important for local students and teachers to have access to this book. So the DeChicos organized a fundraising effort to solicit funds for a donation of the book to local schools in our region. Through their work, we were able to donate over 40 books that were distributed as a result of their efforts. And I just have a quick story about, we sent out an announcement to the schools and let them know this was coming. And about 3 days later, I pulled up to Simon School in Keene and I got out of my car and the principal was outside the school. And I was like, oh, hi, Mr. Cade, how are you? And the next thing I know, he said, do you have a book for me? And I said, oh, I don't have it yet. Like it was coming like the next week. I hadn't organized them all yet. And all the books came with a book plate saying who donated that book. So we wanted to be very thorough with this, but he was ready. So I made sure his books went first and we dropped off 4 books to Simon School. And the next day after I dropped them off, so it was like 10 days after that parking lot moment, I walked by a class and I heard a teacher reading it out loud to her students. And it was just one of those moments where you're like, this actually matters. Like it really worked. So thank you so much for that. But they weren't done yet. When the Historical Society of Cheshire County announced a workshop for local teachers based on using the book and based on Abenaki history, the DeChicos organized again, making it possible for teachers to attend this workshop free of charge. It was a full workshop. We had great feedback from that. So this was a real effort on their part, creative thinking, not only in the sense of organizing fundraisers, but also being willing to literally get your hands and feet wet with 8th graders in looking for macroinvertebrates several weeks ago. So thank you so much to the DeChicos for your energy, your creativity, and your drive. We all benefit from you. Come on up.
I just want to share a few words, and I think Jenna will attest to this, that when I answered the phone and it was Jenna letting Steve and I know that we had been selected as volunteers for the year, I was flabbergasted. And just between you and me, I thought Jenna had made some kind of mistake, mixed up names or lists. Maybe I was supposed to bring refreshments. I don't know. Because this organization just has so many dedicated volunteers. And like all volunteers, Stephen and I were looking for service opportunities with an organization whose mission matched our own interests and values. And the Harris Center mission is clear and concise. I'd like to read it to you. The Harris Center for Conservation Education is dedicated to promoting understanding and respect for our natural environment through education of all ages, direct protection and exemplary stewardship of the region's natural resources, conservation research, and programs that encourage active participation in the great outdoors. Now, we know lots of organizations that have great missions. However, to have the cadre of dedicated volunteers that the Harris Center has, it takes more. It takes philosophy. How the mission is implemented through all aspects of the organization, from the board to the staff, from the types of programs to the customers, from the budget to the allocation of resources. And it is here where Steve and I feel that the Harris Center excels with its volunteers. The staff actively invites and welcomes our input and ideas and feedback. We're seen as valuable partners, and volunteers become aligned not just with the mission, but the philosophy of how the mission needs to be implemented. Furthermore, and so impressive, is how the Harris Center is responsive to the ongoing context of our world. It stays current with all kinds of trends. First and foremost in the last year, COVID and post-COVID protocols, conservation trends, educational techniques, analysis of regional demographics and those who are not being served or are being not yet involved. And plus this latest, the commitment to the Abenaki, our ancestors who honored these lands and this world, and from whom we have so much still to learn. So we are so proud of the Harris Center. It's an impressive, vibrant organization, and we thank staff and board for nurturing this stellar organization. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Lisa and I had to calculate how many volunteers work with the Harris Center. I was just showing everyone my chin, by the way. How many volunteers work with the Harris Center each year? What do you guys think? 200? 50? Well over 500 every year. It's pretty extraordinary. Pretty extraordinary. It's amazing. We're going to do a quick slideshow of some highlights of the past year, just to give you a sense of the breadth of ongoings here at the Harris Center. And we'll start with this one. We had a new program that started in Keene this year. This was with the kindergartens, all the kindergartens in Keene, and it was studying squirrels. We also continued our program in the 4th grade there, which was looking for evidence of mammals. Most of that goes on in the winter, and you can see a class following, maybe not following. They're sort of not following Jenna here. She's stuck out on an iceberg and they're not following. No, this class was great. And in fact, this class joined us for an Ask a Naturalist night, where we do all kinds of fun events with natural resource pictures. And this class joined us and told us all about this trek that they went on with Jenna. This is at PES. This is this is Peterborough Elementary School, and this is kids who are looking at raptors up close before they get the chance to go up to the Pack-Monadnock Raptor Observatory. This is Keene 6th graders. I think they're enjoying the weather, but they're also enjoying an invertebrate hunt in Jack's Pond, which is this gem that's just halfway up the hike to Thumb Mountain. On the land conservation front, we had a huge year in that the Harris Center passed 25,000 acres of direct protection in the 8 towns that we work in. One of the big things that happened this year was a shift to the Harris Center land protection boundaries. So you can see the old boundaries in red, and then we had some new projects that have come along that are just outside of that boundary. And rather than sort of piecemeal increasing the size of the boundary, we looked at the map and said, well, the Harris Center and its land program is all about connectivity of wildlands. And how do we, why do we have these boundaries that keep the Harris Center connecting the super sanctuary with other big clusters of conserved land? And so we've expanded to the blue line. So you can see in the northwest, the boundaries expanded to the Andorra Forest. And then in the west, the boundaries expanded to the Keene Water District land. In the southwest, it's expanded to the Monadnock Reservation. And then in the southeast, it's expanded to the Packs and Temple Mountain. One of our big land conservation projects this year was the Willow Pond Brook Conservation Project, which was adding 74 acres of conserved land right on the boundary of the Willard Pond Wildlife Sanctuary. This was a great project, and it was supported by extraordinary supporters of the super sanctuary. It was also a fun project in that we worked with New England Forestry Foundation to make it happen. We did a lot of after-school programs this year. This is from the Yeti Club, which is at Great Brook and South Meadow, and it's all about wood skills. So learning to light fires and build shelters and all kinds of things in the woods. Lab Girls is a program that's been going on for several years and has grown dramatically. Lab Girls really explores the STEM fields with young girls to try and keep them interested in that subject material. We have a new program called Kids Count, which is a program oriented towards getting kids involved in some of the community science programs that we work on. This year, we had the most extraordinary array of interns through the spring and the summer. There were 9 of them, and they were just fantastic. And it was so much fun having their energy around and helping us to map different areas and work on monitoring conservation easements. In the spring, we had a wonderful supporters event where we put a tent up in the lower parking lot where the old tennis court used to be. Sam Jaffe was the speaker there. And if you miss Sam Jaffe, he's from the Caterpillar Lab. If you missed him, he'll be speaking at the second Monadnock Region Natural History Conference, which is happening on November 12th. And you can attend in person at Keene State College, but there's also remote options as well. Our winter adventures and summer camp programs got back to their full levels, back to the numbers we used to see pre-COVID. And it was so much fun having that kind of excitement and energy back at the Harris Center, exploring the natural world. I still find that clay on trees. There was a group that was this lucky group in a bird conservation camp, got to work with Harry Walters' Harris hawk. Just extraordinary opportunities like that. Can you imagine doing that as a kid? I can't. One positive aspect of the drought this summer was that camping on Spoonwood Lake was extraordinary. We just had great. We had a record year for salamander crossing brigades in terms of numbers of amphibians crossed, 10,700 or over 10,700. Really remarkable. There's 41 sites across the region. We started a new butterfly survey group, and we also satellite tagged in conjunction with the Hawk Mountain people. We satellite tagged 2 additional broadwing hawks, and we have all of our hawks are back in South America now, or all of the broadwings that we have tagged, except for the pink one there. That's Harris, that's still hanging around in Central America. Thelma, who we tagged the year before, with the satellite transmitter still working, she goes all the way to Brazil and has returned to Brazil again this year. Just extraordinary to think about. We had wonderful outings this year. This is an example of a birding outing to Howe Reservoir when it was drained during the summer. Great winter excursions exploring boulders in this case. Birding for all. So we're thinking about accessibility of some of our outings and finding places where birding's great, but it's also accessible for all sorts of people. We've continued building on the kinds of program offerings we have for teachers that work in the region and beyond, to help them develop skills in getting their kids outside and helping them to develop environmental education curriculums. This was from a retreat that happened in the summer. The Harris Center's PAC Monadnock Raptor Observatory had another incredible year with just gigantic numbers and a great hawk release day. These are rehabilitated hawks that can be released. I would like to just thanks. It is a great shot. It's one of the, I think it's a coolish ledges shot. I love the combination of the clouds and the foliage in this case. This is, to do all that the Harris Center does, to make that possible, there's just this enormous community of supporters and volunteers and staff and board members and everyone you can imagine. And it's just such a pleasure to work for an organization that has that kind of support in the community. Hence the 5 years. Feeling 10 years, feeling like 5 years. I'd also like to thank, in addition to our individual supporters, we also have business partners. And in fact, we just have a brand new business partner in M&T Bank. And so I want to sort of shout out to them and thank them for joining the family. Okay. I think, oh, one more slide, Miles. There's a little bit of sadness in terms of how many Harris Center friends and community members we lost this year. And this is a list of just a few. John and Parker, the first two names on the list, were wonderful Bobcat Forever Society members. So these are legacy societies that include the Harris Center in their estate. Paul, through his extraordinary ethic about the land, he allowed for just an incredible amount of conservation activity to happen around Silver Lake, one of the gems of this region, a clear, deep lake that's, I think it's up to 75% or over 75% of the watershed of Silver Lake is now protected. And Paul played a big role in allowing that to happen. Rich was one of our long-term and steadfast outing leaders, leading hikes all over the region. Sigrid was a extraordinary, dedicated Salamander Crossing Brigade volunteer for many years. Dennis was a board member, and then Carl von Mertens. Carl, the generosity of Carl in terms of the extraordinary craftsmanship that he just shared with so many organizations, but particularly the Harris Center. Literally half the furniture you find in this building was made by Carl. And it's just, I don't know how he produced so much, but it's just, he was a remarkable person. And we'll miss all of these family members and others. I'd like to have Brett come up to the podium, and she is going to be talking about the Lori Bryan Partner.
Okay, it's hard to follow that memoriam slide because I feel really choked up to be missing all these friends, but okay, this is happy news to share now. So if you spend enough time shepherding salamanders and frogs across roads on rainy spring nights, seeing the impact that even just a few cars can have on nights when thousands of amphibians are afoot, you will eventually wonder, why can't we just close the road? But when it's your job to ensure safe traffic flow in a city of 25,000 people, the answer to that question isn't so clear-cut. So when one of our Crossing Brigade volunteers set up a meeting with Duncan Watson, the Assistant Public Works Director for the city of Keene in 2017, to discuss the idea of closing amphibian road crossing sites to vehicles on migration nights, I fully expected to be sent on my way. Instead, Duncan listened thoughtfully and said, let's see what we can do. That was the first of many conversations, not just with Duncan, but with the city engineer and other members of the Public Works Department, with the police department and the Parks Department, and ultimately with the mayor and city council, who needed to give their approval for any such road closures to proceed. 5 years later, and big night detours are an annual spring occurrence at North Lincoln Street in Keene. This past spring, we expanded to a second site at Jordan Road, which is home to Jefferson salamanders, a species of conservation concern in New Hampshire. Keene is the first and so far only community in the Granite State to close roads for the protection of migrating amphibians. Yeah, that's a good clap. am confident they won't be the last. This project is a true partnership between the Harris Center and the City of Keene. The city provides their transportation planning expertise to design smooth, safe detours and the barricades and signs to make them happen. They also get the word out to their considerable network, sometimes with very little notice, when we tell them that a big night is imminent. For our part, the Harris Center uses our many years of community science data and time on the salamander beat to predict when amphibian migrations are most likely to occur. We work with our interns and volunteers to put those barricades and signs in place and train and coordinate hundreds of crossing brigade volunteers in Keene and beyond to collect the amphibian migration data that ultimately helps inform those road closure decisions. We had more than 350 volunteers this year alone. We also welcome visitors to the North Lincoln Street site when that road is closed, orienting them, answering questions, and teaching them the big night basics. Over the past 5 years, these detours have provided safe passage for thousands of amphibians and offered a safe place for hundreds of people to experience the magic of the spring amphibian migration, including elders, toddlers, and others who would never have felt safe coming out to see amphibians cross a road if that road were open to traffic. This project has become a source of pride for the people of Keene and for us here at the Harris Center, a shining example of the power of community science. Every year, I hear from people in other places who have been inspired by Keene's actions and want to know how they can bring big night detours to their own towns, which is how I know that Keene won't be the last. We could not do this work without our partners at the city, and I hope I'm not overstepping when I say that I don't think they could do it without us either. So the Lori Bryan Partnership Award was created to honor the care and thoughtfulness that our former executive director, Lori Bryan, brought to her work with the Harris Center's many community partners, and to recognize that we can accomplish more together than we ever could alone. So for saying, let's see, instead of no, for stepping with us into this uncharted territory and coming out the other side as leaders in grassroots wildlife conservation, for all the joyful rainy nights on North Lincoln Street over the past 5 years, and all the joyful rainy nights at North Lincoln and Jordan Road to come, it is my honor to present the Lori Bryan Partnership Award to the City of Keene. Yeah. So just announcing that accepting the award on behalf of the city tonight is Harry McKelvey. He's the city's transportation and stormwater manager. I guess the transportation part is more relevant for this. So thank you.
Thank you. I have more than one chin. So it's working here. I just want to say, first of all, thank you from the city of Keene. To be involved in this is something special for all of us. And it was my pleasure to close the roads for you this year. One of the things that I like personally is that you are including the family units in these type of things, and it creates a stewardship for our environment that is outstanding. And on that note, thank you.
All right, great. Well, even though there's the chin again. Even though we're doing so much, the Harris Center isn't standing still. That's not really in the ethos of this organization. The 50th fund that we raised money for two years ago continues to support really extraordinary, innovative projects, from hawk tagging to kestrel conservation, and from turtle head starting to the newest one, nature podcasting. Stay tuned. We've had these fun episodes of recording going on around here. The first Harris Center Hikeathon has just finished. Actually, just before this event. It was successful. It raised our goal, and money will be used to pay for the materials for installing some benches on our trails and grounds to help with accessibility. We continue working really hard to foster inclusion and accessibility throughout the organization and our lands. We're exploring designs for the open lodge to create an outdoor community meeting space in our lower parking lot. In collaboration with UNH STEM Discovery Labs, this is new news, by the way. Lab Girls is expanding to Manchester. At our spring supporters event, we will be announcing the first winner of the Eleanor Briggs Medal. And this award is for transformative environmental work reflective of the Hair Center's mission. We are working in new schools this year. We're adding conservation research projects. We're expanding our preschool work in Keene. We're partnering with all sorts of organizations to do more work with young families throughout the region. And we're hoping to expand our solar system to make the Harris Center even greener than it is. That's just a few of the things on the card for the upcoming year. I want to say a huge thank you to each and all of you, all of the members of this extraordinary community, for inspiring, for caring, and being part of the Harris Center's amazing journey. So thank you. We are going to attempt another technological feat. We'll see how it goes. Odds are that there'll be another failure. But Susie Spickle is going to introduce this next short film, and this is a very short film.
All right. You might have heard Jeremy. Oh gosh, hard to tell if my chin is showing. You might have heard Jeremy talk about the upcoming podcast. This is going to be called Wild at Home, and it kind of goes along with some short films that we made. We got into the idea of making very short films for families during COVID. So we did things that you could just see when you stepped outside your door, which is how we came up with Wild at Home. And we've been working with Ben Conant. He's been doing all the videography. And Ben Conant, you might recognize his photography from Monadnock Ledger. He's a wonderful, he's got a wonderful eye. And that we will be expanding our Wild at Home kind of offering to have a podcast for kids. So it'll all be connected. That'll be airing next year. We're in the middle of audioing it now. It's very exciting. But tonight you're going to see the Wild at Home winter birds, just in time as we're beginning to think about feeding the birds again. Miles, I think we got it. It's short, so don't fall asleep.
Hello, I'm Susie Spickle, a naturalist at the Harris Center for Conservation Education, and this is Wild at Home. Do you wish you could see a vibrant red cardinal or a bold blue jay, or watch a cheery chickadee flit from branch to branch in your own backyard? Who doesn't like watching birds? Seeing and hearing these beautiful flying creatures can brighten anyone's day, lifting our spirits and reminding us all of what is wild and free in our world. In the winter, we have a unique opportunity. By feeding birds seeds and suet, we not only get a chance to see them up close in our own backyard, but we also get to help these wild creatures survive the thin times of winter. By providing birds with additional food in the winter, we are helping to make their lives easier during hard times, increasing the likelihood of them surviving the winter, and at the same time making our own lives a little brighter. Having seed and suet available in your yard is especially helpful to birds during severe cold snaps or during and after snowstorms. Birds benefit from these additional calories available at the feeder. This can help them get through the toughest conditions winter brings. Being choosy about what you put in your feeder will help keep birds healthy and help you avoid wasting your money on seed that the birds will just drop out of their beak onto the ground. One of the best choices is whole black oil sunflower seed. Using sunflower seeds that are no longer in the shell will not only help you from having to clean up the empty shells in the spring, but it is actually easier for the bird to consume, using less energy than it would be if it had to break open the shell to get to the seed, Remember, wintertime survival is all about conserving energy. Other good options are unsalted, dry roasted peanuts out of the shell, cracked corn, and thistle seed. And of course, don't forget suet, which is an excellent source of fat for birds during winter. To make sure you're offering birds a healthy, clean, and safe feeding experience, be sure to clean out your feeders with some hot soapy water every few weeks. This will help stop your feeders from spreading disease. Set up a few feeders around your yard to help limit competition between birds. Position your feeders a few feet from bushes or trees. This provides cover for the birds and a safe place to retreat to if a hawk or an owl is nearby. And once you start feeding the birds in the winter, stick with it. Birds need the most calories in the cold months, and they will come to depend on your kindness. And don't forget, when the weather warms and bears wake up, take your feeders in. Spending time feeding birds gives you a chance to watch some of New Hampshire's most amazing wild creatures. When you spend time feeding the birds, you never know what's going to happen. Happy Wild at Home watching!
That's great. One of our Wild at Home films went a little viral. Viral for us isn't in the millions, it's in the multiple thousands. That was on pill bugs and sow bugs. You can find all of these on our YouTube channel, where we have, I think it's like 150 videos available now of all kinds of events and resources. Thanks to all of you for coming. Thanks to those who tuned in remotely. For those of you who are remote, we hope we'll see you soon. And I think with that, we'll end the remote session. For those of you that are here in person, please help us finish the cider and the punch and cookies. And anyone who won an award, if you could come up to the front after, as we start to get up, so that we can get some pictures of the award winners. Thanks, everyone.